In today's video, I wanted to do something a little different because I just watched Dune Part 2 and I feel like making a movie review on the channel, something I haven't done since 2018. So yeah, it's been a while, but I do think it is relevant because the channel is a gaming channel, but there are quite a few Dune games out there, some in the backlog of games I'd like to play, some on my Steam wishlist, and so that is why I was anticipating this second part with much enthusiasm because it seemed we were in for a sustained revival of the Dune universe with the creation of these new movies from movie director Denis Villeneuve. Well, as you will see in this review, my hopes were a little shattered, to say the least, or at least, if this is indeed a revival we are experiencing in this day and age, this is not the revival I was personally looking for. Also, this video will contain spoilers, so if you care about not being spoiled, then the time to leave this video is now because major elements of the plot of the movie will be revealed after this intro. Hello and welcome to the channel, it's Irad, and so in this video I want to talk about Dune Part 2, which I just watched with my wife here in Taipei, Taiwan, and fun fact, we both really enjoyed the first part, which we both found very promising, so we were excited for this second part, and fun fact, we both did not like it, but for two different reasons. Of course, as with everything, not everything is to be thrown in the trash bin, far from it. Just like part 1, I think that the movie looks fabulous and did a superb job at visually representing the various scenes that are described in the book, with a special mention to the living quarters of the Fremen. I found it fascinating to properly see how they secretly live in the harsh conditions of Arrakis, as well as anything that's related to the sandworms and how the Fremen have managed to use them for their own advantage, the desert power, whether they are used as high-speed transport or siege weapons. I thought that it was awesome. I also thought that the acting was very good too, with a special mention to Timothée Chalamet, who successfully managed to transform Paul Atreides from a young, experienced pup into a believable war leader. That young man screams charisma, and to me he really was a perfect choice to represent that character. I also loved how fanatical the Fremen are, so much so that some moments will certainly become meme material, as written, and when a movie becomes memeable, it means that it did something right because it becomes fondly remembered in the collective memory. Last but not least, the action scenes, just like in the first movie, are very well choreographed and perfectly represent the direction the book takes, whether these are the acts of sabotage from the Fremen, the arena fight on the Harkonnen world, or the final battle at the end. But again, coming from Denis Villeneuve, we were expecting nothing less. Interestingly, this is where my wife was disappointed. She thought that there were too many action scenes and not enough character development and not enough world building, especially throughout the first half of the movie, where it was still needed, and I think that she was right here, more on that later. What I was expecting, though, was the movie to follow the book more closely, and this is where, in my opinion, this movie hugely disappoints. So much so that I would actually recommend watching the old movie from 1984 if you want to have an experience that matches the original material more closely. We'll start from the beginning of the movie, which kicks off right after the end of part 1 when Paul duels a Fremen. In the book, there is a whole ceremony where the whole tribe pays homage to the fallen man, everyone calling him their friend, and Paul is expected to do so, which he does, and with the right words that make him accepted furthermore among his new people. It's actually one of the most touching parts of the book. I remember rereading that passage several times to make sure I hadn't missed any details, and Frank Herbert, the author, even managed to get me to shed some tears for that character that we had barely met and that quickly died at the hands of the hero. It's a remarkable literary achievement, and I was really looking forward to seeing that on screen, but nope, in the movie the Fremen just collect his waters and move on, and here Denis Villeneuve missed a huge opportunity to make us learn more about how the Fremen think and how Paul develops as a character. Already from the start of the movie, I was hugely disappointed this scene was left out. I just couldn't believe it. The other missing part, in my opinion, when it comes to character development was how life on the Harkonnen world of Gaiety Prime is described, especially at the Baron's palace. I don't think that enough was done to show how sadistic by nature the Harkonnen society is and how much of a monster the Baron really is. Sure, he is depicted as such in the movies, but the book describes him as an even worse villain. The movie completely left out the scenes where young boys get tortured and violated just for his own pleasure. There were no mention of Feyd-Rautha's harem and how the Baron asked him to slaughter his sex slaves after failing to execute a conspiracy against him. I really liked how the character of Feyd-Rautha is not portrayed as a caricature he was in 1984 when Sting played this character, and yet so much was left out in that movie, which just failed to show how much of an evil alter ego of Paul he really was. Another missing part, or in this case, that's completely missing, is the Spacing Guild, which is nowhere to be found in both movies. And here this once again is symptomatic of the failure of Denis Villeneuve to give us proper world building and a proper background of the political structure of the Empire, nor is there any reference to CHOAM, which is the company that handles trade across the Empire, and in which all the great houses or major families of the Empire have stakes in. And when it comes to the Spacing Guild, I would have loved to see a modern take on the Navigators, which are those genetically modified humans that rely on spice to navigate between the stars and without whom interstellar travel would be impossible. They are the very reason why planet Arrakis is so important and why spice melange can only be found on this planet is so crucial for humanity, and yet they seem to have completely been left out. And because of that, for people who did not read the book, like my wife for example, the whole plot of Dune doesn't make much sense. I also found the timeline of the movie very odd. In the book, years pass from the moment Paul becomes Muad'Dib and the moment he becomes the Emperor at the end, so much so that his mother, Lady Jessica, has enough time to give birth to his sister, Alia, who then becomes a key character through the end of the book. She is the one who reveals to the Baron and the Emperor that Muad'Dib is Paul. She is the one who kills the Baron as well, and because she was born with the mind of a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, she is actually a fully matured character trapped inside the body of a 5-year-old, which generates a lot of hilarious confusion among the Harkonnens and the Emperor, who don't understand what's going on with this child, and that too is missing from the movie. Last but not least, let's talk about Chani, who unfortunately got the retold for a modern audience treatment at the end of the movie, and that for me was the nail in the coffin. In the book, and this was perfectly shown in the 1984 movie as well, Paul married Princess Irulan to secure the imperial throne and gather the support of House Corrino, which has held the imperial throne for thousands of years. However, he also publicly tells his Fremen lover, Chani, that the princess shall have nothing more from him than his name, no touch, no love, no attention. Lady Jessica also confirms that being a concubine is a much better deal than being a wife in name only, because concubines end up being remembered as the real wives. In the source material, Chani accepts her fate, and that's basically it, but not in a movie in which she throws a tantrum, leaves the assembly as Paul ascends to the imperial throne, and just goes to ride a sandworm with a very angry, strong woman looks on her face. And this, to me, was an insult to the book, an insult to Frank Heber's work, and an insult to the plot line as well, because Chani, as much as she plays an important role in the story, is not the center of it. Paul is, and the movie should have ended with the start of the galactic war that followed his ascendancy, not angry Chani who ends up looking like a fool because she does not understand anything about politics and fails to see and understand the greater pictures, which also shows that this is an insult to the intelligence of that character who deserved so much better. And there you have it, why I didn't like Dune Part 2, And it sucks because it could have been so much more. There was just so much potential in that first part, and it just feels like it was squandered in favor of visual effects and at the expense of character development and world building. To me, this was a major disappointment, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know with a thumbs up, and let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the movie. Also, if you'd like me to cover more entertainment-related topics, please let me know as well in the comment section down below. And for the old school Irad fans, don't worry, I will always cover video gaming, so that is never going to go away. This is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and a big shout out to my Patreon supporters who make this content possible, including Dr. Fobin, Seal Crusher, Deplorable Fidel, and Ducky to Ducker. I have been Irad. Have a wonderful day. I will see you guys in the next one.